If anything is for sure in British Columbia, that is that there's always going to be changes going on with real estate. And coming up, that's really no different. Effective on January 1st, there are three significant changes that are going to be happening in the real estate market that you really need to know about. The first one is a ban on foreign buyers for the next 2 years by the federal government. The second is a monstrous shakeup in owning a strata, specifically with restrictions on a strata and also related to rentals. And the last one is a made in BC solution called the cooling off period, which is going to completely change the game for how busy markets operate when buyers and sellers are transacting in BC. If you want to learn all about that, plus get the stats, join me on this month's episode of Drinks with Darren. You ready to have a drink with me? Well, we're back for another fun-filled episode of Drinks with Darren, and there's a lot going on, as I mentioned in the intro, that I really want you to know about this month. So to get started, it's always important to let you know what we're drinking. And of course, today we are drinking the Honey Paw. We are drinking the Bear Paw Honey Lager by Whistler. I swear I haven't had any of these yet. The Bear Paw Honey Lager by Whistler Brewing Company. Let's give it a go. Delicious, but you're not on this video to watch me drink beer. You're here to learn all about these three major things going on. So I'm gonna dive right in because, hey, your time's important. If you're new here and haven't been on our YouTube channel before, these Drinks with Darren videos are primarily for our database of amazing clients and soon-to-be clients to give them an idea of what's going on in real estate all over British Columbia, but more specifically in the Surrey, BC and surrounding areas, and also let you know how your home is performing in terms of what's going on in the market and what we can expect. Let's jump into it. So the first thing I want to talk about today is the cooling off period. Now, all the changes that I'm going to mention in today's video are all effective, as of right now anyway, as of the 1st of January 2023, which is almost just a month away. This cooling off period was introduced, and it was kind of an idea for when the market was really busy, where effectively if someone writes an offer that is condition free, and even if it does have subjects, they by law have a 3-day right of rescission to change their mind for whatever reason they choose. This runs concurrently with subjects. So if an offer was to come in that had subjects on it, the timer starts the day the offer is accepted. There also is something called a breaking fee, or effectively a penalty, which is something the buyer must pay to the seller if they enact their rescission abilities and don't move forward with the purchase. And this is 0.25% of the final agreed price. And this can't be changed. This can't be renegotiated by law. It's got to be 0.25%. Putting that into perspective, on $1 million home, that's only $2,500. In addition to all this information, if a party consists of multiple buyers all buying the same home, whether it's two spouses or anything, even one buyer wanting to rescind from that offer causes the whole thing to rescind for everybody else. This can't be waived. This is all in by law and there's no changing it. So a few unique things that you want to know about this is it doesn't apply to every transaction, but more so residential transactions, and it doesn't affect assignments either. This 3 days of rescission does not include what they're calling non-business days. So that's Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. So if you're a math whiz like me, and maybe you're not a math whiz, but that's okay, that effectively means that if an offer was to be accepted on either a Wednesday, a Thursday, or a Friday, the weekend is now enacted, and it's not a 3-day rescission. It can become up to a 6-day rescission if you have a long weekend in there as well. So you're going to want to be very careful if you're accepting offers without conditions on any day except for Monday or Tuesday. The reason for that is because the day the offer is accepted, you have 3 full days after that period to rescind your offer as a buyer. I don't know who thought of that one, but I don't know how well that's going to work. That's not really a great deal for the seller, is it? It's also important to note that just because a buyer can use a rescission period does not mean that they can just go in condition free on offers without protecting some of their interests. As an example, if you wanted to do an inspection, but you didn't specify that in the contract, or better yet, specify access to the home in the contract, the seller has no obligation to offer that up to you. Things like access for appraisals and inspections must be specified in the contract, otherwise you're not getting in. Sorry! Due to this rescission period and this break fee that is being suggested, it's somewhat being suggested in the industry right now that we move back to a deposit structure where the deposit is collected up front when an offer is accepted, rather than what's been traditionally done for many years by paying the deposit once conditions are removed. You could also see two-tier deposits where you do a small portion up front and then you do the larger portion at the back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with industry and how this plays out. But how does this affect the seller, and is this good for the seller? Well, it's probably not. Fortunately, this new stipulation for anybody that's selling their house is largely there to protect home buyers. It bears asking this question as well. Is this being introduced to make sure that people can do the appropriate homework when buying a home, which is effectively what having conditions on your offer is really for? Or is it for simply changing your mind? Because when you say that a buyer can rescind their offer, but they can only do it Monday through Friday during business days, and they get to take the weekend off to think about it, well, that's really them trying to get services rather than them really changing their mind. And they can think about it long and hard over the weekend if they still want to proceed with that offer, rather than trying to get services in the house or trying to see if they can get a mortgage behind the scenes because they made a decision to go mortgage free or condition free. Just my 2 cents though, we'll see how this plays out. The next one on our list is something by the federal government where there is effective on January the 1st, 2023, a prohibition on non-Canadians or non-permanent residents buying real estate all across Canada. We've done a video on this in the past, which I am going to link below this video, but there's a few key things that you really need to know about this. It is a 2-year ban effective at the very beginning of this year. This ban applies to residential properties only, so it doesn't apply to things like mobile or manufactured homes that are on rented land, and it doesn't apply to commercial properties either. What I thought was really awesome about this ban, not that I agree with the ban, but what I like is they actually thought about some of the detail of this ban, is there's some pretty significant penalties for breaking the rules, including penalties on people who may assist these non-Canadians or non-permanent residents in trying to skirt around the rules. This can be a fine for somebody that tries to help these people skirt around the rules of up to $10,000. And if you're one of the people that are buying a home and you're not supposed to be because you're not a permanent resident or Canadian citizen, well, you can be forced to sell the property. That's right, the federal minister in charge can actually make you put your property up for sale, force you to sell it, and you're not able to make any profits from the sale. Some of the good news is this doesn't affect the seller's ability to actually sell it to a non-resident or a non-Canadian citizen. So the deal's not going to get screwed up for them, it's just going to be screwed up for the person that chooses to skirt the rules. There is a list of exemptions that apply to this as well, and some of them are very good, so I do like them. I'm not going to get into them in this video, but I will post them below so you can read all about them if interested. Hello, my friend! Number 3 is somewhat of a doozy, and we just filmed a video on this a few days ago, so the full details and the video will be linked below, so you can check it out if you want to get really into the deep dives of this. But there was a big announcement by the province of British Columbia that is going to completely eliminate the ability of strata properties, that's townhomes and condos, to enforce rental restrictions on the residents. This means if you're somebody that is living in a rental restricted complex, that's going to be gone as soon as this passes. The philosophy behind this is there's a lot of people that need to buy a home out there, or more specifically rent a home out there, and having these restrictions on these strata properties is kind of unfair when we're in the middle of a housing crisis. There's no doubt though, this is really going to upset people who wanted to own in a non-rental complex or a non-rental building. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why, you can watch the video, but the other part of that big announcement was also the elimination of age restrictions unless it's over the age of 55. This is a very positive one, and one that I am in complete support of, because if you lived in a building that said it was only available to people to live there over the age of 19 as an example, and some younger people moved in and started a family, or even by accident started a family, they don't have to sell their home now and relocate just because of a silly rule that's kind of discriminatory against people because of their age. As mentioned, it still can be a senior occupied building if the age limit is over the age of 55, but anything under that is no longer going to be enforceable once this passes. This is also going to create some huge opportunity, not only for investors, not only for renters, but anybody that owns in a complex that has an age restriction that isn't over the age of 55. You're probably just going to increase your property value just by this one single announcement. But I'm not going to get into all the pros and cons about this. The video's down below. Make sure you give it a watch. So those are all pretty significant, like bang, 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 all in the course of 1 month to go. We've got a lot of shakeups coming up in real estate. Leave it to the province of British Columbia and the federal government to just throw a complete boomerang wrench into the whole system where we're going to have to do things completely differently moving forward. If you, of course, have questions on how this might affect your ownership of your current home or just general questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And a lot of the people watching this are my clients. There is a link below where you can book time in my calendar to speak directly with me. And I want to make sure you know exactly what's going on with all these changes and how it affects your own personal situation. Of course, some of you are here for the stats, and that's exactly what we're going to get into right now because the market has been so topsy-turvy lately. You probably want to know how your investment's doing, and that's exactly what we're going to cover right now. Starting with condominiums, which there's a lot going on in the condominium world, obviously, and these numbers could change very, very quickly. But starting with condominiums, in the last 3 months, we have seen prices come down about 4.6% across the Fraser Valley for the benchmark price, according to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. Over the last 12 months or year over year, condos are still up. And you're looking at an increase in the benchmark price of about 11.5%. So I guess that's really good news for anybody that bought about a year ago. Jumping into townhomes, unfortunately over the last 3 months, townhomes have seen a decline of about 7.6% in their benchmark price across the Fraser Valley. Similar to condominiums though, in the last 12 months, you're actually up in value by about 7.6%. So again, maybe a little good news for those who have been in a little bit longer. Rounding out our list, of course, is detached homes. And I find this one the most interesting because we know the market's been very tumultuous since March. Detached homes kind of started their trip downwards a little bit earlier than townhomes, which then, happened a little bit earlier than what condos did. Detached homes in the last 3 months are still down almost 10%, coming in at 9.9%. This is the first time in a long time, though, where we've seen a decline for any of the products over the last 12 months, where if you had bought a detached home in the last 12 months, you're actually down just about 1% from the time you bought it, according to the Home Price Index. So there's going to be lots of questions about what's going on with the market, where it's going to go in the near future, and mortgage rates have been a big impact on what's been going on, including all the stuff, of course, that the Bank of Canada has been doing. This isn't the video to do that. I'm not going to get into all the kind of price predictions and whatnot, but I will release one in one of my upcoming videos very, very soon. So if you don't follow us on YouTube, you do want to make sure you subscribe so you have access to all that great content as soon as it gets released. Hey, to all my clients out there, I want to toast to you. I want to say thank you for all the introductions to your friends and family who we've been able to help buy or sell real estate with. You've been able to help me keep this face off of a bus bench, which is really, really good because you help support my business so I don't have to go out and put my face on a bus bench. And nobody wants to see my face on a bus bench, believe me. Thank you to all those of you who have continued to tell our names to people who have bought and sold homes in the last short while. And thank you to those of you who are watching that we don't quite know yet. If you don't know me, you know who I am now. My name's Darren German with the German Group. You've only got one chance to sell your home. Let's make sure you get it right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And we'll see you next month on the next Drinks with Darren video. Cheers.